Yelling with everyone, welcome to Module 4 of the Apollo 12 Advising Program. The topic of today's module will be on articulating your extracurricular activities in your college application. Just a quick note, Apollo 12 is our program for rising high school seniors who are applying to college. And many of you have been either notified or will be notified about your advisor assignments. So advisors should have or will reach out to you this week and let us know via Slack or on this webinar if you haven't heard from your advisors by next week. And now I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful presenters, Safia and Sohail, to introduce themselves and start us off on our webinar.
Thank you, Rahina. Yalimat, everyone. My name is Safia Jafferly. I am from the Central Region. I work in operations and communication, and I've been working on various programs with youth since about 2014. So,
thanks, Safia. Yalimat, everyone. My name is Sohail Hamirani. I am from Dallas, Texas, Central Region. Professionally, I'm an accountant. I also tutor and help students with college applications. And then Jamaat Khana-wise, I am the National Youth Volunteer Lead.
Okay, so components of your college application. PI, personal information, that's your basic info. Courses and grades, that's the secular info. Test, which is really your knowledge base. Extracurricular activities, which is what you like to do and what you're involved in. Recommendations, how others view you, and the essay, which basically takes your introduction to the next level. So as of now, we're all working through a pandemic. Schools may shift the weight or the impact some of these components of the application make versus others. Some schools may not require your ACT or SAT results, so your extracurriculars may weigh more in comparison to these other elements, which doesn't diminish or discredit the other parts, but it just may mean that your extracurriculars will really be able to play a big role in telling your story versus your total application. So what are extracurricular activities? Activities that are pursued outside the classroom, right? They contribute to your personal growth and development. They may be service related, they may be work related, and it's concentrated extra effort you put versus parts to a whole. So extracurriculars teach you a lot of leadership skills, and your college essays really give you the chance to display those skills. So you'd use the extracurriculars and what you utilize in terms of skills and what you learn to then add extra emphasis to your essays. And really, extracurriculars, again, is anything that's outside of the classroom. So if you're a member of the sports team, or you serve as chief editor of your school newspaper, or you play in the band or the orchestra, or you're working a part-time job, or you're volunteering, all of those count as extracurricular activities. However, it's important to note that your hobbies may not count as extracurriculars, and it's probably best not to include anything you do recreationally, like watching movies or playing video games, really because extracurriculars involve concentrated extra effort, something you go out of your way to do, and it should contribute to your personal growth and development. So for example, while playing video games may not be an extracurricular, if you take your passion for video games and up it to another level and maybe program plugins or create a game or a league or competition, you could utilize that component to count as an extracurricular.
Great, thank you, Safia. So here, we will just go over the process overview of filling out the activities section of your extracurricular, of your college application, right? So the activities section, how should you approach it? So step one is to brainstorm a list of all your extracurricular activities and the positions you've held, right? So really think of all the activities from 9th grade onwards that you partake in. Step two is to narrow down the list to the maximum of 10 activities. Step three is to list the activities in the order of impressiveness, and we'll talk about what that means here in the coming slides. Step four is to write descriptions that are less than 150 characters. So the description box on the Common App will limit you on how many characters you can write, right? Common Application is about 150 characters. Apply Texas is about 70 characters, and the Collation app is about 225 characters. And step 5 is to edit and refine your descriptions, right? Get others to help you edit and make your descriptions well. And again, we'll go into detail with all of these steps. So the first step is to develop the list of your extracurricular activities. So it is really important to balance extracurriculars for both number and depth. So what do I mean by that, right? In other words, you shouldn't list a dozen of activities in which you're only a casual participant. The goal is to show true dedication and passion for the activities you do and pursue, right? You don't want all your 10 activities to be a member of something, right? You want to show leadership positions. You want to show if you have any work experiences, if you have internship, right? So as you're making the list of the activities, your unique passion needs to come out, right? This is non-negotiable. Extracurriculars need to provide insight into what you love doing outside of school hours and who you are as a person. Your grades, your SAT tests will tell them how you do academically, but extracurriculars will really tell them who you are as a person. The only way to achieve this is by sharing something you're passionate about, right? Plus, this will help you, if you have college interviews, it will help you to talk about your extracurricular activities and your passion. The second thing you really want to consider when you're making the list of your activities is the time, effort, and leadership, right? You want to focus on the activities you spent a lot of time on, right? You want to think of activities where you have had leadership positions, where you maybe started as a member and now you are a president or vice president. Also, it helps keeping a journal of your progression, planning, and process of your extracurricular activities. Is a great way to prove your effort and hard work. And then the last thing you want to consider when you're making the list is your unique impact, right? A great extracurricular activity is community impact, right? What impact did you make? Did you change the way someone was thinking or how something was organized? You want to show the impact. Right? So the three things, again, you should consider are your unique passion, your time, effort, and leadership, and your unique impact. One example we can think of is Boy Scout and Girl Scouts. A lot of you might have done Boy Scout and Girl Scouts, right? It shows consistency because you started at a young age. You probably held a couple of positions in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that you can talk about. You might have completed your Gold and Eagle Award, which shows your unique passion, your time, effort, and leadership. Okay. So next slide is how to now describe your activities. So once you have come up with a list of activities and then you have narrowed it down to 10, and the reason I'm saying 10 is Common App only gives you place for 10. Apply Texas gives you more room than Common App, but Common App gives you 10, so you should really have a good 10 activities. Does that mean you have to have 10 activities? No, right? You can have up to 10. Okay, so let's talk about description now. Okay, so first thing you want to do is write your position and leadership. You don't want to just say student council or just say president, right? Write president, student council in your position and leadership. Okay, then time commitment, right? You want to think of activities that you spent a lot of time on, right? And the spot where they ask you for time commitment, they're going to ask you the number of hours per week you spent on an activity in each grade level. So you want to estimate this, right? They're not asking you for exact number, but you don't want to over exaggerate it either. You cannot do all 10 activities 10 hours a week, right? That just isn't possible. So make it realistic, and that will help the time commitment section. So you have the position section, then you have the time commitment section, and then your description section. As I mentioned before, your description section has a limit, right? So you have 150 characters in the Common App, which is about 25 to 30 words, which is very minimal, right? If you have partaken in this extracurricular activity for 4 years, and now they're giving you 25 words, right, to write a description. And then in Apply Texas, you have even less. right? 70 characters. And then if you use the collation app, you have a little bit more room with 255 characters. So now let's talk about the descriptions itself, right? You want to emphasize the impact you have made on the organization, right? You want to focus on quantity, right? Quantifiable and significant impact. For example, rather than writing participate and feed the hungry every Saturday morning, you can write organized and served breakfast to 150 low-income residents in the Dallas area. So this way, you're using words like organized and served, and you're saying exactly how many people did you serve? What was your impact, right? 150 low-income residents in the Dallas area. Remember in the previous slides, we talked about 3 things you have to consider, right? Impact was one of them, right? So quantity helps show your impact, okay? And then you want to use active verbs, right? Organize coding camps for middle and high schoolers from inner city Chicago whose schools do not offer computer science classes. I use the verb organize, right? Shows my skill. Again, you don't want to use the same verbs over and over again. You want to use different verbs and shows different skills through different activities. And you don't have to write in complete sentences, right? Colleges understand that you do not have enough space to provide in-depth descriptions of each activity, right? So you can say, transported patients on wheelchairs, provided meals and blankets, assembled gift baskets, and attended grand rounds, right? Again, I'm listing. I'm using different verbs, but I'm listing. You do not want to repeat words from the position description box in the activity description box. What does that mean? If you said president of student council in your position, in your description, you don't need to say as a president of student body, comma, I did this, this, this. You don't need to list that again. You're using words that could be used to describe something else, right? Because you already said that you are a president in the position description, no need to repeat it in your description section. The last thing I want you to remember is your tense, right? If you are doing the activity right now, if you're still partaking in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts right now, then you would use present tense. If you participated in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts in 10th grade and you finish your Eagle Award and you're no longer part of Boy Scouts, then you would write in past tense, okay? And I a lot of times get questioned, should we put all the present activities listed first and then we should put the past activities? No, you should put in order of impressiveness. So again, that means that the activity you spent a lot of time in, you showed passion in, you showed impact in, you have leadership position in, those activities need to go before the other activities. Okay, so let's look at an example, right? So here, how can you enhance the following? Organize food can drive for local families. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think here. How can you make this better? Organized food can drive for local families. So think of, can you use a different word? If you have already used organized, can you maybe add quantities in here, right? I don't think it uses all the character space, so can you add more to this description? You want to use the entire 150 character limit, right? Because that, again, is not a lot, and you want to use that. So you can say, collected over 10,000 cans and provided Thanksgiving meals for 500 families in the Dallas area. Again, I used a different verb if I've already used organized before. I show how many cans did I collect, how many families did I help. This shows my impact. Where did I do it? I did it in the Dallas area, right? What did I do? I provided Thanksgiving meal. So I hope this shows you the difference between these two descriptions and why the second one is much better. And here are some more examples. Actually, here are 3 examples. Pick which one is the best out of the 3, right? So the first one says in the position box, just says art. Created art pieces and organized school club. This is not very good because art is not really an extracurricular activity. It's usually a class in a school. But if you are in an art club or you do art for competition, then you can be that. Or if you're part of the Art Honor Society, then you can put founder, Art Honor Society, or member, Art Honor Society. Sometimes we get the question, should the should the organization go first or the position? It doesn't really matter. You can also say art honor society, comma member, comma founder. Okay. B says organized and ran meetings, set up field trips, brainstormed and created group activities, wrote and sent newsletter to members. This is pretty good because it's using different verbs, it's staying in the same tense, right? But what is missing? It's missing the quantity, the impact, right? That I made. So the third one says organized and ran 15 meetings, coordinated volunteer events like teaching art classes to students in elementary school, and wrote a monthly newsletter. So instead of saying created group art activities, see how we made it more specific by saying that they taught art classes to students in elementary school? This is the difference between someone with a good app and someone with an excellent app, right? Because they're telling you what exactly did they do instead of just saying group art activities. What does that mean, right? So they're being more specific here, and they're using quantity as well. So I hope that helps you see the difference between the three types of description that a person could write, and hopefully your descriptions are more like the version C here. And then let's talk about power words to use in your descriptions. These are words that colleges really like seeing, right? Passion, right? Your passion for something. If you were a founder or leader in an organization, that needs to be one of your top activities. If you have done an activity for a long time and you've shown commitment to that, that needs to be an activity you list in your list, right? Initiative, right? If you started an organization, make sure those kind of activities are in your list. Activities that show dedication, impact, growth, personal change, an internship you have done. A verb that colleges really like seeing is coordinated. Coordinated shows that you can plan something, you can organize something, you can do multitask, basically. So these are words you can use or words that your descriptions can have. Okay, danger words. So these are words you want to avoid in your description, right? Colleges don't want to see that your mom or dad forced you to do an extracurricular activity. Even if that's true, you don't want to say that in your description, right? Required, mandatory. Africa, a lot of students that apply use Africa and say that I've done this in Africa and I've done that. So maybe just avoid that. Words like showed up or forced. This was fun. This was neat. I'm sure you can find better verbs and adjectives, right? Than fun and neat, brief. Don't use obligation. Avoid summer camp, right? These are things that you want to avoid in your description. So articulating services within the Smiley community, right? A lot of times students have a hard time explaining Camp Mosaic or youth volunteers or ECDC on their application, right? Because you have to talk about Jamaat Khana in 25 words. How do you explain that, right? So let's look at some examples. So Camp Mosaic counselor. What could you write here? You could say something like coach 6 mentees through STEM, arts, sports at a week-long camp. Again, I'm saying 6 mentees. I'm making a quantity. I'm saying STEM, right? Most reviewers would know what STEM is. You don't want to use all your words to spell it out. Arts and sports at a week-long camp. Again, tells them that I was a coach, I was a mentor, right, to 6 participants, and this is what I taught them, and this is how long it was. Right? Simple explanation, kind of tells them a little bit about Camp Mosaic. And then youth volunteers, team leader. This is always hard for applicants because how do you explain Jamaat Khana, right? So here you can say I mentored 20 younger youth in all areas of service in Jamaat Khana, our place of prayer. Right? That's one way to do it. There's multiple ways you can do this. And then ECDC fostered language and motor skills in 3 to 6-year-olds at a learning center. Okay. Again, you will see all my descriptions use different verbs. I'm not repeating the verbs, right? And they're all in past tense because I've done them already. I'm not currently doing them. Okay, Sophia?
Okay, so extracurricular profiles. So we're going to look at 2 things when it comes to your profile. We're going to look at types and tiers, and your types will correspond with your tier level. So what is a weak extracurricular profile? And that corresponds with tier 4. So weak extracurricular profile is simply one that's basically non-existent. It's very bare bones, it's very basic, it doesn't have description or details or anything like that. And admissions officers really are looking for students who are involved already in their high school community and their campuses, rather than a student who has no extracurriculars or a couple of just casual involvements. In order to be that desirable candidate, you want to have a really strong extracurricular profile. The next level is a standard profile, which corresponds to tier 3. So this student has varying interests, which is totally okay because we all have multiple interests, but there's no high level participation. And really, for example, you know, a student might play soccer and practice the trumpet and write an occasional piece for the newspaper. And while that sounds like a well-rounded student, there's no really high level of interaction. There's no leadership role, and students may view that particular student who participates in multiple activities as maybe unfocused, rather than someone who has like clear focus goals and leadership involvement at a high level. The next type is a solid profile, which corresponds with tier 2. And rather than listing a handful of activities from tier 3 and tier 4 on your resume, this profile aims to concentrate the efforts and selectively spends their time and energy on a few activities. So solid profiles show tangible achievements. For example, a student who's passionate about music might demonstrate this through being a lead character in the school musical, singing in the school choir, making the all-state choir. And on the other hand, if it's a sports lover student, maybe they play a varsity sport like football or soccer or basketball in the fall. They write sports articles for the school paper in the winter, and then maybe they're the captain of the baseball team in the spring. And then the strongest extracurricular profile is a strong profile, which corresponds with tier 1. Now, this is the most coveted student. These are the strong candidates and strong profiles. So basically, this is a student who may have different areas of interest, but shows high achievements, lots of leadership skills, and uniqueness and individuality, which is something that Sohal had mentioned earlier, right? What makes you, you? So for example, an English major or an English aspiring major who is passionate about theater, their activities might show that they ran their own blog with 2,000 monthly views. Maybe they served as the editor-in-chief of their student newspaper. And when it comes to theater, the student volunteered at the Children's Art Center in their community and held a lead role in school plays and musicals, right? So the best extracurricular profiles tie together diverse interests and show tangible achievements and high leadership skills and involvement at a high level. And really, to continue with that English major example, maybe the student also wrote a script for the school theater performance, which sold out, right? You could add in the number of tickets sold to make it quantifiable. And this activity combines the students' love for English and theater, as well as demonstrates their achievements and leadership skills. And it's also really important to note the why, right? Why this activity? Why is it important? What do you gain? What do you contribute? What makes it about you? How does it make you stand apart or stand out in comparison to all the other candidates who are also applying to the same school? So now let's look at some types of extracurricular profiles. We're going to go through these examples, and I want you to keep in mind what makes a profile strong, solid, weak, or standard, really. And then kind of keep that in mind into its corresponding tiers. So the first example, I'm an aspiring engineering major who loves robotics. I'm the president of the robotics club. I led a project where the robotics club used 3D printers to print small toys. We teamed up with Big Brothers Big Sisters and gave the toys to our, littles. So I would consider that a pretty strong profile. Maybe adding in a number for like how many littles or how many toys they had printed would make it even stronger. So you can quantify that example. The next example is B. I attended class council meetings off and on. So I would consider that a weak profile because it shows casual engagement, no real leadership skills, and nothing that was tangible in terms of achievements. The next one is C. I play varsity football and am captain of the soccer team. I also enjoy photography and I'm a sports photojournalist and have my own column in the paper. So I would consider that a C, a strong, a solid profile. They're showing multiple levels of involvement. They're showing leadership skills. They're also showing that they have a diverse set of interests. And then the last one, D, I run track and cross country, play the oboe, and participate in class council activities. So I would consider D a standard profile. Again, they show varying interests, but there's no form of leadership skills and there's no high tangible achievements. And really something that could take a standard profile and make it a solid or strong profile, right? Maybe they are first chair for playing oboe, or maybe they have a leadership role and are the president or VP or treasurer for class council. You can add in how many activities they've hosted, planned, or executed with the class council. And for track and cross country, maybe they, lead in terms of a specific event for track, or they went to the nationals for cross country, right? There's lots of ways that you can up your profile by making, adding quantifiable details like Sohel mentioned earlier, and showing those leadership attributes that you've gained through those extracurriculars. Okay, so next let's look at extracurriculars during the COVID-19 period. So you're at home, right? It's a pandemic year. We're all home. How can we possibly be active in extracurriculars? Well, we're going to use the online space. The pandemic may have triggered something that you're passionate about or something that you want to get involved in that regard. So why not do it online? These activities can be just as impactful as your in-school activities. So for example, let's say you want to create an online club. You're going to put together whatever you're passionate about. Maybe you create a club. You're going to come up with a clear mission statement for your club. You're going to choose your platform. You're going to invite some friends who are also interested in the same topic or the same activity, and maybe assign some roles to these members. If you want to have like any leadership roles, if you want to have a president, or you're going to have a chair or a vice chair, something of that sort. And this will also help legitimize your organization and create a decision-making structure. For example, you could do something in regards to social entrepreneurship or math or biology or literacy. You could also do an independent research project. So steps would include, working with a parent or mentor to think of a research question or thesis, something you want to answer. Consider problems you see around your community or even globally, and you want to figure out a solution. You could order materials and run a trial. You would write a paper that would really outline what the question was, your answer, the process you went about, and your results. Very detailed, similar to like a lab write-up that you would do at school, and really kind of focus this on like STEM-based research. Or you could get published. Publications are always looking for paintings or drawings, digital media or sculpture, creative writing to feature in their pages. Know what you want to showcase, so know something that you are passionate about or what you want to do, and something that's important to you, which makes you unique, and then research a publication and submit your piece. There are lots of different publications online that you could consider submitting your piece to, depending on what your interest is, if it's creative writing or painting or anything of that sort. Okay, so role of the families. So for parents, really what's your role and what's in this big picture, right? You want to brainstorm activities with your student if you guys haven't already. And really you want to fill out the prep tracker early. So create your list of extracurriculars, tracking actively so you have a list handy of everything you do is super beneficial and will really help you keep organized. And based on your student, their unique interests, what they're passionate about, utilize that and what they will excel in or make an impact with to narrow down this broad list of activities so that you know what you're going to focus or make a concentrated effort or go out of your way to then engage in. And then really make a timeline. So for example, if your student's involved in class council, maybe they start out as a member. They're actively involved and the goal is to be president. So you build your timeline accordingly. Next, you want to consider perspectives, right? You want to be the editor. You're going to edit, you're going to review, you're going to share ideas, and you're going to consider your input to make the student's extracurricular profile transition from weak to strong.
Okay, great. So here, these are more descriptions to critique. So what Sophia talked about was profiles, right? So she talked about profiles. So how does your profile look? That profile includes all the different descriptions, right? So if your profile has a medical volunteer, yearbook staff, and a president of National Honor Society, that's your profile. Then your individual descriptions is what I was talking about that need to be about 150 characters. So here are 3 more descriptions. So let's look at this one. Networking with local health workers and NGO officials, assisted pharmacists delivering medicine to mountain tribes. So how is this description? So what I noticed is this says networking and this says assisted. So here there's 2 different tense, right? So you want to make sure you have either present tense or you have past tense, right? You don't have both tenses in one description. It doesn't need to be a complete sentence, but tenses do still matter. Again, I am missing quantity here. I'm missing the impact, right? I don't see the impact. But otherwise, it's an okay description. Again, tense is an issue. Maybe they could use a stronger verb than assisted, right? Assisted makes you seem like you were a second person, right? So maybe use another verb. And then yearbook staff member. So here, traveled to photograph sporting events, worked with InDesign, mentored new staff members, helped run a summer workshop of new staff members. Great verb, traveled, worked, mentored, helped, all on past tense. So that's good. Again, quantity is missing, impact is missing. And then the last one is organized and ran meetings, set up field trips, brainstorm and created group activities, wrote and sent newsletter. We talked about this one in the previous slide. Again, like I mentioned previously, the created group art activities, maybe give an example there, right? To show your impact. Okay. So takeaways from today's session, make sure you state your role and the organization in the top box, right? Emphasize your impact, right? Think numbers, quantity. Use active verbs to explain what you actually did. Okay, so active verbs, again, you can look up a list of active verbs on Google. Try to use verbs that really show what you did in that activity, right? To fit in more info, use lists. Do not use complete sentences. Cut extra words. Use present tense if it's something you still do. Aim for variety in your list, right? You don't want to have all activities that are community service, right? You want to balance it out with things that your leadership position in, your internship, sports, music. Again, you don't need to have everything, right? And if you have only community service, that's okay, but you have to figure out how to balance it out, how to write it to make it still seem unique, right? Include any responsibilities where you demonstrated leadership skills. I've mentioned that. Explain your significance, who did it, why did the event matter. Avoid extreme language, right? Don't use always, never, world renowned. And try to use uncommon words, right? A lot of students use curious, so instead of curious, maybe you can use inspired, right? So that's what you really need to work on your descriptions, right? One thing I really want to harp is get started early on your descriptions. Give it a couple of edits, right? Keep looking at it. Don't start it the night before the application is due because the descriptions are hard, right? Most people think the essay is hard, which it is, but also the descriptions because you only have so limited room to explain what you have done over so many years. Okay, and then here we have some resources and next steps, and we'll share this with you. But there's an article here that explains how to fill out the activities section. There's an article here that gives you over 80 examples of descriptions. These are not all the best examples, but there are examples that might get your brain rolling on how to write something, right? You don't want to copy these descriptions, but these are good samples to look at. We have also created an extracurricular artifact, and this artifact is basically an Excel spreadsheet that helps you think through the different activities to list in your descriptions. Rahina, I'll hand it over back to you.
Yeah, so thanks so much to both of you. Before we move into the Q&A section, just a couple of quick notes. So Module 5 of our Apollo 12 webinar series will be on essay strategies for your college application. And this will be held on July 15th at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can register at this tiny URL link, which will also be sent in the Slack. Also, Apollo 12 advisors should be reaching out to all of you if they haven't already, and please notify me via chat or in the Slack if you haven't been matched yet. But just please be patient. We're working on this. So now we're going to move into the Q&A section. So the first question is, what if you have had multiple positions within a club or organization? How should we go about wording it on our college application?
Rahina, sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. So the first question is, what if you've had multiple positions within a club or organization? How should we go about wording that on our college application?
Perfect, thank you. So the position, there's only one space on position in the Common App, but in Applied Texas, it gives you grade levels. So some applications, I think the California one too, some applications will give you grade level, like 9th grade, what was your position, 10th grade, 11th, 12th. But the Common App doesn't do that. The Common App only gives you one box. So you would write your most recent or the highest position you got in that organization, right? So if you were member, secretary, president, I would write the president one.
Got it. Great. And then another question we have is, the question is, I don't know if my project that was halted due to COVID-19 should be talked about on my application. Should my internship that was canceled be talked about? And should I speak to its impact even if I wasn't able to engage with it this summer?
Yeah, so again, your extracurricular activities are activities that you have already partaked in, right? Where you have shown your impact, you show your passion, right? If this is an activity that you haven't done yet and it got canceled and you are going to do and you want colleges to know that you're going to be part of this, I would add it in the extra comments section. Most applications do give you that extra comments box which says, is there anything you haven't mentioned anywhere else in your application that you want to mention here? That's a good point, good part to mention that in, if you think it will add value to your application.
Great. And our next question is, if we only took part in an extracurricular activity for a month or two, or did a 1-month program, is that something that we should include in our extracurricular section?
Yeah, so it will depend on what all your other activities are, right? So if you have a lot of other activities that are longer, show more commitment, show more passion, show more impact, then I would put those over this one. But if you don't, and this one was a lot of commitment, then I would definitely put it. And what I mean by it is like Camp Mosaic, right? Camp Mosaic is 2 weeks, 3 weeks long, but it's a lot of time commitment during those weeks, right? So that would be something I would definitely put, right? So if it was over a month and you did 1 hour or 2 hours a week and not a lot of impact, then I would leave it. But it really depends on how much time you spent and what you did, right, in it, more than how long you did it. And Sophia, add on if you want to.
Yeah, sounds good. And our next question actually is from something that Sophia mentioned on publications. So how do we go about looking for having opportunities to be published? Okay,
so here, like Sophia mentioned, that you literally just search, right, the different publications that are out there. If you're an artist, you can search how to publish my artwork, and a lot of different responses will come up. And we can also share, I think Sophia has like this publication list that we can also share out that can show like where to go to get different things published. But I think you can also automatically just research and see what the different ways are. If you don't even want to get published, you could start a blog, right? A blog is a good way to share your thoughts, if you're a good writer or a good poet, right? You can start a blog and start sharing that, and that could be an extracurricular activity you write about as well. So publication is not the only way. There are multiple things you could do, but if you are interested in getting published, you might just have to do a little bit of research to figure out what's the best avenue.
Yeah, and to kind of take that a step further, we'll share with you guys that link. There's like 6 to 8 different types of publications on that. Some are science-based, some are just like reading and literacy-based. There's a couple that are art-based. And also, like Sohil said, a blog is a really good option, whether you're just trying to share your work, or maybe it's photography that you want to share, maybe it's writing that you want to share. Also, creating a website that you can use as a portfolio is also really helpful. That will display and showcase any effort or pieces that you put together.
Great, thank you for that. So just our last couple of questions. How do I find an extracurricular activity that I'm passionate about before college applications, especially if I haven't really partaken in extracurricular activities?
So it's never too late, right? You can, like Sophia mentioned, there are multiple things you can do during COVID right now and get those extracurricular activities there. Some things, Jamaat kind of is doing a lot of programming that you could partake in, like Chem Mosaic is happening, Global Encounters is happening, right? You can do a variety of those programs, get that in your extracurricular activities section. You can also do the, like we talked about, the publications, the blog, right? Variety of things you can do. You can take a class, right? You can take some online classes, and then you can talk about those that you did, like maybe like a coding class, and then you learned coding, and that's an extracurricular activity that you can write about, right? So there's multiple things you can think about and do, and also really brainstorm, right? Because in your academic life, right, you might have partaken in some activities that you're not thinking about, right? Did you do an iServe event you can talk about? Do you do duty in Jamaat kind of that you can talk about, right? So do you really think there might be some activities you're missing? And if you don't have any, there's still time where you can partake in the virtual programming that's happening, or do some research. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add on, other activities that you may not originally consider as extracurricular activities, such as a part-time job or family responsibilities or babysitting, these all can also be part of your extracurricular section on your application, because those are activities that you're, dedicating your time to and also investing in. So our next question is, I have an online internship this summer. Would I be able to include my online internship and associated online courses that I'm taking on my extracurricular section of the application? And I think this is really applicable because I think a lot of high school seniors and obviously college students and others have internships currently that are online.
Yeah, an internship is an internship, right? Whether it's online or in person. And I think more colleges are going to be a little lenient this year because they understand, the wrench that COVID-19 put in all of our plans, right? So if you have online internships, definitely put them there. Definitely describe what you did in there. They do need to go in your application.
Great. So I think that's about all the questions we're going to take for now and the time that we have. But if you have any additional questions that we may not have answered, or if you have a personalized or specific situation that you'd like to talk to us about, feel free to message us on Slack, and we'll try to respond as quickly as we can. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning into our Module 4 webinar. We really appreciate you, and we hope that this is helpful as you're starting your college application journey and working on articulating your extracurricular activities. And thank you so much to Safia and Sohail as well for their time and efforts on this presentation. So
thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and send those links also in the Slack as well. And make sure to register for Module 5 of the Apollo 12 series on essay strategies, which will be held on July 15th at 8 p.m. Central Time. So thank you so much. Everyone take care, and Yali Madet.
Thank you, Yali Madet.